Guys, Days Gone 2 2025 release date, story, trailer, and rumors, everything you need to know. Fans of the open world zombie survival game Days Gone have been waiting for years to hear something, anything, about its possible sequel, Days Gone 2. The first game had a rocky start, receiving mixed reviews from critics who found it repetitive and buggy. However, despite all the criticism, Days Gone eventually found massive commercial success and earned a dedicated fan base that still praises its emotional story and realistic world today. Over time, the demand for Days Gone 2 has only grown louder. Players have been hoping that Sony Interactive Entertainment and Band Studio will give the story of Deacon St. John another chance to shine. In this long, detailed article, we will explore everything we currently know about Days Gone 2, including its possible release date, expected storyline, rumors, development challenges, and much more. So let's look back at Days Gone before diving into the sequel. Let's recall how it all started. On April 26, 2019, for the PlayStation 4, later after strong fan demand, the game was also launched for Windows PC on May 18, 2021. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic open world set in Pacific Northwest of the United States. Players take control of Deacon St. John, a biker and bounty hunter trying to survive in a world overrun by zombie-like creatures known as freakers. Although critics at this time complained about its repetitive gameplay and technical bugs, many players loved its heartfelt story, large open world, and detailed weather and bike mechanics. Over time, Days Gone became one of the most PlayStation exclusives, selling millions of copies and gaining new fans even years after its release. So why fans still want Days Gone 2? One of the biggest reasons fans are still asking for Days Gone 2 is because of the ending of the first game. The story concluded with a huge twist involving James O'Brien, a mysterious researcher from the National Emergency Response Organization NERO. In a shocking ending, it revealed that O'Brien himself has been infected by an evolved strain of the freaker virus. But unlike other infected, he retains his human intelligence, self-awareness, and reasoning. The twist suggested that a new kind of enemy might rise in a possible sequel, smarter freakers capable of organizing and planning attacks. This mind-blowing revelation left fans with endless questions. Why is Nero truly planning? What is Nero truly planning? How did O'Brien manage to stay sane despite the infection? And will Deacon and Sarah discover the truth behind the freaker virus? These questions practically begged for a sequel, and it's no surprise that players have been waiting ever since. So if Days Gone 2 does get made, fans expect the story to continue directly after the first game's ending. The sequel would likely focus on Deacon's growing confrontation with Nero and the newly evolved freakers. This time the danger may not just come from wild hordes or dangerous humans, but from intelligent infected that can think, strategize, and perhaps even communicate. In the first game, the freakers were purely instinct-driven monsters, but if they start showing signs of intelligence, that could completely change the gameplay and story dynamics. Deacon might have to use smarter survival techniques, more traps, advanced weapons, and creative strategies to deal with enemies who are no longer mindless. We could also see deeper emotional development between Deacon and Sarah, now reunited as they try to build a future in a broken world. The moral choices could become darker too. How far can humanity go to survive when the line between human and monster begins to blur? As of 2025, there is no official release date for Days Gone 2. Sony Interactive Entertainment and Band Studio have not confirmed that the sequel is in active development. However, there are strong reasons to believe it may happen eventually. Reports suggest that Band Studio is currently working on a brand new IP, intellectual property, a fresh open world game unrelated to Days Gone. Until this new project is completed and released, work on Days Gone 2 will likely remain on hold. That means even if development starts in the next few years, the game might not release before 2027 or 2028. For reference, the first Days Gone took 7 years to develop, so patience will be key for fans hoping to see the next chapter. Since Days Gone was originally a PlayStation exclusive, the sequel will almost certainly launch first on PS5, taking full advantage of its advanced graphics and speed. However, whether it will also be available for PS4 remains uncertain. Sony has been slowly moving away from the PS4 platforms, focusing on next-generation experiences, so it's safe to assume Days Gone 2 might be a PS5 exclusive to showcase more realistic weather effects, bigger hordes, and improved performance. And what about the Days Gone 2 for Windows PC? The first Days Gone arrived on PC about 2 years after its PlayStation release, and it's performed very well, selling over 850 million copies and attracting new players worldwide. So if Days Gone 2 becomes a reality, it will almost certainly come to PC after a delay, just like before. According to early speculation, the PC port might arrive by 2028 or later, depending on how long development takes. While that sounds far away, fans believe it's worth the wait if the sequel can deliver an even more ambitious world. Unfortunately for Xbox players, there is no official confirmation that Days Gone 2 will ever be released on Xbox consoles. The first game was never released on Xbox, it remained a PlayStation exclusive and later came to PC. So given Sony's ownership of Bend Studio, the sequel will likely stay a PlayStation exclusive at least for the first few years. However, with Sony recently showing more interest in cross-platform releases, there is a small chance that Days Gone 2 might eventually find its way to Xbox, but that's purely speculation for now. And what are the Days Gone 2 system requirements which is expected? There have been no official detail about the system requirement for Days Gone 2, but we can make some educated guesses based on modern standards. If released for PC, players can expect to need at least a high-end CPU like AMD Ryzen 7 or Intel i7, 16GB or more of RAM, a strong GPU such as RTX 3070 or better, at least 100GB of storage space. Of course, there are just predictions and the final specs will depend on how graphically demanding the game turns out to be. So far, no official trailer or teaser have been released for Days Gone 2. Bend Studio has not shared any promotional material, concept art or updates that directly confirm a sequel. So the first Days Gone took over 7 years, so it's understandable that the studio might take its time again. Fans are hopeful that the new IP performs well. Sony might greenlight Days Gone 2 next. When that happens, we can expect a cinematic announcement trailer showcasing Deacon's return, the evolved freakers and the game's new setting. The rumor mill has not been spinning for years. Back in 2021, reports surfaced that Bend Studio has pitched Days Gone 2 to Sony, but the proposal was rejected due to mixed critical reception of the first game. Former Bend Studio developers even confirmed this publicly, saying that Sony didn't believe the sequel would be profitable enough. However, over time, this rising popularity along with the game's solid PC sales had led many to believe Sony might reconsider. These are also whispers that Sony is planning a Days Gone live-action movie adaptation, which could reignite interest in the game's universe and possibly set the stage for a sequel announcement. At the moment, Days Gone 2 has not been officially confirmed, but however, considering the game's cult following commercial success and the ongoing fan demand, it feels likely only a matter of time before Sony revisits the idea. Even though Bend Studio is busy with another project, the world of Days Gone still has enormous potential, emotionally, narratively, and visually. Fans want to see Deacon's journey continue, explore the mysteries of the Freakers virus, and witness how humanity rebuilds after the apocalypse. Until we get official confirmation, all we can do is wait, hope, and keep our motorcycles ready for another ride into the wilderness. Right now, Days Gone developer Sony Bend hiring is for new multiplayer game. Days Gone developer Sony Bend is currently hiring a creative director to lead a new online multiplayer project, maybe part of the PlayStation Live game plan. The developers behind first-party PlayStation game Days Gone are planning another shot at a live service game or a project with some sort of multiplayer element. New job listing indicate Bend, Oregon-based studio was already working on a live service game for Sony, but this project was cancelled, leading to heavy layoffs of the group. It's unclear how this creative director job listing fits into the current plans or whether or not the listing is old and no longer valid. The studio also requires that candidates have experience with how multiplayer games are developed and designed. Given the reception with the PlayStation Live games, including games like Concord and Fair Games, it is possible that Sony will look to more familiar classic franchises to adapt into multiplayer games. On this note, Ben could be working on some sort of Siphon Filter or Resistance multiplayer live game to fit alongside Sony's aspirations. We are seeking an experienced and visionary creative director to help lead a project currently in development. This role is responsible for driving the decisions that set the creative vision, quality bar, and emotional tone of the game. While Sony has considerably dialed back its plan on delivering guest titles, the company is still moving ahead and will launch more live games in the future at a more selective rate. Sony's next game is Marathon, a new extraction shooter for Bungie, as well as the next MLB The Show game. Outside of this, Sony has remained tight-lipped about its lineup. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what are your thoughts and opinions about the Days Gone 2 sequel. Will we get a sequel late around 2028 or 2029? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I would love to hear from you, and hit the like button and subscribe our channel for more notifications. The bell icon, brother, is the most important thing of all time. Do click it because you guys deserve the notifications sooner, and we will be covering up every Days Gone 2 topic here on this channel, from official news to music and much more. So do subscribe for more, guys, and fans trailers as well. And thank you for all the love and support you guys have given us. Take care and see you all in our next video. This is Capix Gaming, and goodbye.